And hello, everybody. It's Chris and Eric.
Hey, hey.
How are you,
Long time.
buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's
Good,
been a
good.
week.
Yeah, and it's been a week. Let me tell you, it has definitely been a week. I have lots to talk about. Hopefully, you do as well.
A few things here and there.
Good, good. Um, so yeah, we're gonna try to continue our 2023 momentum here, doing our weekly shows again. We got off to kind of a rough end of the year. We kind of talked about that last week.
hmm
We're like, we need to do stuff again. And I'm like, yes, stuff. Stuff is good. Sometimes.
And then stuff happened. Stuff sold out, apparently.
We're gonna jump right into that, aren't we? All right. So, I'll kind of start from the beginning here because I know that our personal like podcasting and everything, we actually have attracted new listeners who don't necessarily know me or know you. They know one of us, so they've tuned in to see that person, and now they're learning who the other person is, which is pretty cool. Because everybody should know the two of us together. Because if you know the two of us together, you know how ridiculously entertaining that can be. And if you've ever worked with us, you know how dangerous that can be too.
Yes. But still entertaining.
But you lived.
But
you
did
lived.
you die?
You
But
lived.
did
And
you
that's
die?
it. Right. Exactly. Exactly. But did you die? And if you've ever ridden in a car with Eric and I at the same time, that's been an entertaining adventure too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I took you down the wrong road and you weren't sure if you were going to make it.
I was like, oh, here we go again. This is how it ends.
I apologize. I just had my speakers on for a minute, so if anybody heard any echo, that should be neutralized now. Unlike the actual echo of tech problems that I was having last week that drove me nuts.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, nobody else could fix it, but leave it to Mr. Tech over here, Mr. IT Certification. He took care of it. That's why
Man.
I asked you. And hello, Choppy Girl 12. Welcome to
Hey,
the
Choppy
show.
Girl.
We are going to be doing our live podcast for the next 90 minutes to 2 hours. So please do not apologize for being you. Never apologize for being you. We're happy to have you. And this is a perfect time to ask for some life advice because Eric and I have already gotten our first suggestions, and we're going to start launching a separate little show here on YouTube where we're going to offer life advice.
I already have one of the things. I ordered something else that I feel like once it comes in and you see it, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil
It's going
it.
to be it's going to be a character-driven thing. I'm
Yes,
just
it
telling
is
you
a
guys that
character-driven performance.
Right now.
Yeah, I will say up front here and before we start the next episode that it is a character and not my opinion at all. But it's going to be funny.
Okay, fair enough. Now, when I say we're going to offer life advice, I mostly mean Eric's going to offer life advice. We are going to give you actual advice, but please know that you'll have to wait till the end of the episode to get the real advice. Please know there will be for entertainment purposes until that point.
Yeah.
I have to explain that because I know if I don't, someone's going to take it the wrong way. And I'm not saying it would be you, Choppy Girl. But just in case, just know, don't listen to the. No, actually, you know what? You do whatever you want because you've been in a field with a horse and in a boat and other things while we've been playing. So Choppy Girl's just gonna do Choppy Girl, and I'm all for it actually.
Yeah.
So let me get back to the what Eric was referencing earlier here. So, for people who don't really know like our history or anything, I've been involved in the professional wrestling industry since 2005. And I'm now realizing how old that makes me feel because I was 20 years old when I had my first show. 20.
Yeah, and that was almost 20 years ago.
Shut up. I know what 20 doubled is, Eric, and I know that number's coming, and I'm not a fan of it.
I'm old, Yusuke.
I'm old, Yusuke. Good reference. I need to rewatch that soon. That was such a good recommendation, by the way,
Yeah, you're welcome.
from you and Matt. You both encouraged me hard to be like, "Yep, you want a goat anime? Yu Yu Hakusho it is."
I need to go back and rewatch it myself. Actually, it's been quite a while.
Yes. Every time I do this, I'm checking the chat. So, Choppy Girl 12, if you are still there and you want to keep chatting, every time I look this way, I'm just catching up. So, just so you're aware. If anybody else is in the chat, like, you can chat too. It doesn't have to be the Choppy Girl show, although maybe she wants it to be the Choppy Girl show. Who knows?
Just invite her on.
So, oh my God, my cousin was born in 2005. Your cousin's young as shit. Your cousin is young as shit. Anyway, so I've been involved in professional wrestling since 2005. My first gig was as a ring announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was going to be a backstage announcer. There's a whole story about that. I've told it on the show before. I'll quickly retell it here. My very first show actually got canceled. So we moved on to the next show that we were going to have. Again, I was going to be backstage announcer, but then the ring announcer ended up being one of the wrestlers. The guy they used for ring announcing could also wrestle. They wanted to use him on the show. So I got the gig before I'd even had my first quote-unquote backstage interview.
What's the progression in that? Like how?
There really isn't one. It's pretty much where you pretty much learn to be an announcer, and then they kind of use you where you need to be. It's just a different way of doing it. If you're the ring announcer, it's a different method of doing the announcing versus if you're a backstage announcer, you're actually conducting an interview. Like, ring announcer's kind of like the MC of the show. The backstage interviewer is just that. It's like you're a broadcaster, right? Which you are. You're conducting the interview. You're helping further along storylines.
Okay.
And then of course there's commentary, which is what I'm doing now. And commentary is actually calling the match, doing play-by-play, calling the moves, or color analyst talking about history and telling the story and all that. Pretty popular thing in sports. Play-by-play calls the action as it's happening. For baseball terms, that's the play-by-play guy is actually saying, swing, giving stats and everything. The color analyst is helping with the stats. We'll talk about the player's history. Well, they've already been up to bat 3 times tonight. 1 strikeout, 1 on bat. Their third one's a home run. See the difference? Play-by-play is telling you what's happening. Color analyst is sort of adding to it and giving you stats, history, etc.
That way, one person can actually be Googling and all that shit that they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I did color analyst for baseball back in college, I actually had a sheet in front of me with all the players, their numbers, and some stats about them. So while my play-by-play guy was calling the game, once, there was a lull, because obviously, he's paying attention, swing, blah, 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 do all that stuff. And then I would hop in and be like, okay, yep. And his name is Justin Smith. He's been playing Little League since he was 8. He's got this history. He won this trophy. Like, I'm throwing that stuff out there. The next time he comes up to bat, now I can talk about what he did his last at bat. That's kind of how it worked. In pro wrestling, a lot of the times the color analyst is an ex-wrestler who's been in the business, and they can. So while the play-by-play guy is an actual broadcaster calling the action, the color analyst is sort of like they call it like the ex-jock. They're the ex-wrestler who is giving you the history. Like, yes, I've been on the receiving end of that move many times. Oh, I've wrestled that person before, and I can tell you that they act this way or they think this way. Like, it adds to kind of telling the story, because that's what you're doing as an announcer. You're telling a story, just like the wrestlers in the ring are telling a story. The reason I never wrestled was because athleticism. I don't have that. I will never have that.
I also enjoy bacon. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. And then I had a really bad car accident that's completely screwed up my back, still to this day, just completely screwed up, and I can't do the physicality things that wrestlers do. Now, I've been a manager before, and I've done physical stuff, but it's what we call in wrestling protected spots. I'm not full-on being slammed to the ground. The person is hitting me. Sorry to everybody out there who loves kayfabe, and I'm blowing that. I apologize, but it's 2023. Everybody knows wrestling's a work. Get the fuck over it. I'm still a proponent for kayfabe and like heels and baby faces staying separate from each other and blah blah blah. But let's be honest, we all know I'm not revealing anything new.
It's new to me. I don't know any of this. But
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know that wrestling is a work. It's not, which is why it's not considered an Olympic sport, even though Chris Jericho wants it to be. I'm sorry. His comparison of figure skating was not a good idea. Also, I just realized I never updated the stream details, and it still says it's Mario Party Saturday night. So, whatever.
Oh, well, I'm dressed in red. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Give me a turtle shell.
Choppy Girl, if you know a professional wrestler, please tell me who they are. I will be happy to look them up. So anyway, so one of the spots I've done as a manager is it's a backbreaker. They literally picked me up and broke me over their knee. I didn't feel a thing, but I sold it like I was dead. And that's part of it. If you're
the Bane treatment.
Yes, exactly. Nice. And I'm still willing to do stuff like that. And I'll fall down. I can't take a proper back bump. It won't look good, but if you hit me, I'll sell it and I'll fall down and I'll react accordingly. The big thing, of course, with managers, this was especially good if I was ever managing a female, to get because managers work better as heels anyway, and being a bad guy in wrestling is so much fun. To get to antagonize the babyface, the good guy, the good girl in this case, and then have her slap me. First of all, that shit hurts. The girls in wrestling are tough as nails. Some of them are tougher than any guy I've ever met in my life. And that shit hurts. So when I was selling...
It wasn't selling.
It wasn't selling. That shit stung my face. But I'll do that anytime for the entertainment purposes. Plus, it gets a good reaction. I'm antagonizing a girl. It's better heat for me because I'm a guy fucking around with a girl. Physicality-wise, that looks shitty. So when she gets her comeuppance, or when I get my comeuppance and she gets her payback, the audience always reacts big. Always. It's the it's almost cheap heat is what it is. I've promoted. I don't recommend that. Promoting is a fucking headache. As cool as it is to get to run your own show and get to call everything and pick what happens and everything, what a fucking headache that was. And John, good for you for keeping GSW alive for as long as you did. I don't know how it didn't drive you insane. I do miss GSW, and I wish it would come back, and I'd love to help you out again. But my God, I'm sure you're much happier without it, because what a fucking headache that was. Tommy Tumble, he is a great fella. From personal experience, being slapped and slapping people does hurt. I'm glad that you're aware of that, Choppy Girl. I mean, she is not wrong. That's the thing.
I can honestly say that there has not been a time where I've been slapped where I didn't deserve it.
And that's just it. It's in wrestling, getting that slap as a heel manager gets such an ovation because you're antagonizing the good guy. You're antagonizing a female as a male. You trip her up or anything or do anything physical. The audience is going to hate your guts for that. So the second she comes out of the ring and fucking slaps me, and I go down like a sack of shit and I start crying, everybody's laughing at me. And that's what you want as a heel manager. You want the audience to, that's what you want them to do. You want them to get that reaction. It's tease on you. I'm not revealing anything that's not secret, by the way, guys. So Three Legacies Wrestling started up. The first show was back in October. The gentleman who runs it is Ricardo Rodriguez. He was in WWE as the personal ring announcer for a wrestler called Alberto Del Rio. Mm-hmm. Alberto's gimmick was that he was a rich Mexican aristocrat. So he came to the ring in fancy cars and lived in, this palatial estate and everything. And Ricardo was his personal ring announcer because, of course, the pompous jackass with the money would have his own personal announcer to just call him to the ring. And Ricardo got the gig because he spoke Spanish. And I won't tell the story of how he got the gimmick. I'll have him on the show someday and let him tell the story. But he came out to Lancaster to pick up where an old promotion left off. And I'm not going to go into too many details about the old promotion, other than the fact that it disassembled when the guy promoting it went to prison for fraud or money laundering.
Oh.
So, and he owned a pizza place, and I won't reveal the name of the pizza place. I'm not here to...
Did not use the pizza place as the laundering place, did he?
I'm not 100% sure. All I know is the pizza place doesn't exist anymore, and you can all look. If you're really that interested, I can tell you guys offline. I'm not here to because I don't want to speak on.
I feel like that's an interesting backstory on itself for wrestling.
Choppy Girl has been slapped by a guy before, although it was the weakest slap ever. It hurt more when I smacked him back. Good. Smack his ass. Well, no, don't actually smack his ass. You might like that. Smack his face. Smack his face.
And that's how she got married.
Choppy Girl, I want to be invited to your wedding. I'm telling you that right now.
It's got to be close to a hospital though for alcohol poisoning reasons. Sorry, Choppy Girl.
It will be the best wedding ever though. So he started up. We did our first show at the Brightside Opportunity Center. It's I'm not even sure if it's still a church. It used to be. Brightside was a church. Now it's called an Opportunity Center. I know they have a full gym and everything. We do it in the gymnasium. First show we had, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 people, somewhere in that range, right? Our second show was at a different building. We had roughly about the same. So, you know, we were doing what we were doing. Ricardo was kind of like the star on the show because he's the WWE guy that people would know. The second show, again, same thing. And then here comes our third show. Former WWE superstar Paul London is on the show. For anybody who doesn't know, Paul London was in WWE from mostly the 2000s. I think early 2000s to late 2000s he was there. He was a big high flyer, really cool guy. I don't think he was thrilled with the weather, being that he lives out in LA. So I think he was freezing his ass off when he came here because Friday night was cold as hell. He had a seminar on Friday night, and then we had the show last night, and it was even colder last night. Really cool guy. Learned a lot from him. But Ricardo got a recognition on... I keep saying Fox News. I think it was just Fox affiliate because I think it was more of a paper article than an actual... Well, he had a TV interview on one of the local Fox affiliates. And so we went from that crowd of 70 to almost 600.
That's a big ass crowd.
That's a major difference, right? It was standing room only. It was a legitimate sellout. The online pre-sale tickets were completely gone. It was just whatever was left at the door. And some people didn't even have chairs. Like, there weren't enough chairs for people. The bleachers were filled shoulder to shoulder. And the chair, we were finding chairs in the building to give to more people. 13 of my coworkers were there. And they had a
they showed
time.
up.
Yeah, they were there.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they got their tickets. They had a fantastic time.
Most of your coworkers say that they're going to go and then they don't go, and they actually showed up this time. So yeah.
Oh my God, Choppy Girl, you are way too young to have almost gotten married once. Please don't. You have your whole life ahead of you.
How old are you, Choppy Girl?
This has been revealed already.
Oh, has it?
Yes. I'm not gonna. If she wants to say it, I'll let her. But I'll put it this way. You know how she said her cousin was born in 05? She just revealed that she's born the year after. Choppy Girl's a kid.
Yeah.
Especially compared to us. We're old, Choppy Girl. We're old men. Our bones tell us that every morning when we get out of bed.
You still have bones?
Yeah. Okay, yes. She's 16.
Dear God.
That's why I said, please do not get fucking married. I don't care. Ever. I don't care if it is different. Ever. Well, no, Eric, stop.
Sorry, I'm practicing the advice early.
Oh my God. You're not even married yet.
No. I don't think we're at this point. What's the point?
I think if you live together long enough, you end
Common
up
law marriage.
common law marriage. So how
Yeah,
long have
it's
you
not
guys
a
lived
thing in
together?
Michigan.
Oh, okay. Well, didn't know that. She didn't really have the choice. Okay, well. eh.
She said she didn't really have the choice.
Choppy Girl, I don't know if we want to get into this on the podcast. A guy who
Oh,
had you locked in his house. I don't know if we want to get into that or not.
good God. What the fuck?
And he tried to marry her. Okay, well, I'm very happy you're not in that situation anymore.
Right?
This is getting dark. Holy shit.
Also, let me know when that movie releases.
So, yeah, so Three Legacies is taken off. So, we're gonna be doing post-production commentary on the 3 shows that have happened, last night's and then the November and the October show. Nothing in December, but we've got our dates booked for the rest of the year. And we're going to have a big show in August at Clipper Magazine Stadium, which is the local baseball park in Lancaster. That's going to be our big show. So I'm really looking forward to that. Outdoor show, big baseball stadium. And we are probably going to outgrow the building we're in right now, which is a good problem to have. And if that's the case and we have to move to a bigger building, so be it. I think Ricardo even said, he goes, fuck it, I'll eat the deposit and just say, because it's worth it, right? So, yeah, we had a huge increase, and she's like, I'm getting sidetracked. It's okay, Choppy Girl. You're here to be part of the conversation. It's fine. So, yeah, like he said, like he's fine with just eating the deposits at that point because holy shit, right? Like,
Especially if like that much people continue to show up,
yeah,
or that growth continues.
right. Well, the old promotion that was here ran in a bigger building and was able to fit a lot more people in. But that was also, and they got big names. They got Bret Hart and Mick Foley and Roddy Piper, like people you know, Eric, like people you would know without even knowing anything about wrestling. Like, you know who those people are. So Ricardo did this just on his name value, and maybe Paul London participated in that too. But the fact that he got recognized is what I think really drove the promotion home for people to come out to it. And which was friggin' awesome. I think a group of like 75 people actually showed up at one point, and I don't know where the hell they put them, to be perfectly honest. Like, I don't know where they ended up, but it was a really, really cool show. A lot of fun, and he keeps his show simple, which I appreciate. He does 6 matches, and it goes no more than, it was like a 2.5 hour show, including the intermission. And a pre-show match. So, Eric, do you know what a dark match is? You ever heard that term before?
No.
Okay. So,
Can I take a guess at it, though?
you sure can.
All right. Humans and demons.
God
right?
damn it.
Dark World Tournament. All right, continue.
Look, I know you got Yu Yu Hakusho on the brain, all right? But okay, so it's considered to be it's considered an untelevised match.
Okay.
So Ricardo advertises 6 matches on his show, but in reality, you get 7. The pre-show match is for young talents getting looked at, and the students. So I know one of the guys has only had a handful of matches in his life. It was a tag match. There were 2 guys that were in from Ohio. They were kind of getting looked at. If hey, what can you guys do? Do we want to bring you back and put you on the main show, kind of thing? So they get to, it's an opportunity to look at it. And one of the referees in training ref the match, so he got his practice in. And that's what's considered a dark match. If you ever attend a WWE show live, they put out that dark match. It's a way to just get some talents on there, show what they can do. The scouts are looking at them, but it's also a way to warm up the audience before the big show happens. So, hey, we know you guys are here to see a big show, so here's some people that you've never heard of before, but we're going to let them just go out and showcase and see what they can do.
Okay.
And depending on the TV taping, I know, like, I've gone to a show at Madison Square Garden where they did 2 dark matches. One of them was literally an old wrestler who they just kind of brought him in to be like, oh, hey, remember this guy? Like, he was kind of an undercard type wrestler from a defunct promotion. They brought him in to just let him do what he could do. And then they brought in one of the guys that was in their developmental training program. They had the first match, And then the second match was another developmental program guy against an actual more known name in the company. So that got the audience a little more hyped up because now they knew the guy. Then they did 4 matches for their Sunday night show that they would do, which was like, like, hey, which is kind of like lower card guys or just people that we want to showcase. And then Monday Night Raw started. So by the time Monday Night Raw came on the air, we'd already seen 6 live matches, and 2 of them were just for us. So on an independent show, that happens a lot. We give you what's called a bonus match or a pre-show match, whatever you want to call it, and it's literally just, a lot of the times they just take students and let them just go out. It's like, okay, you're going to go out there, you're going to do a 5-minute match. We're just going to see what you can do. Can you win over the audience, warm them up, and keep it simple and come back. So
I feel like 5 minutes is kind of short for a match, though.
So you would think that unless you're in my role where I'm actually helping produce the show and time the matches, and you realize that 5 minutes is actually more than enough time to have a good match.
Okay.
Because what we do is we give them 10 minutes in total, including their entrances. So we're going to play your music, you're going to get out there, and you're going to get in the ring, and you're going to go. So if you don't waste too much time on your entrance, I mean, we want them to go out and have a big entrance, but keep it like 30, 45 seconds, get in the ring, we'll send your opponent out, start the match, and then just go. By that point, they've still got 6-7 minutes to work with, and you can have a good wrestling match in that time frame.
Okay.
In fact, that's what we want them to have too. Because again, part of wrestling isn't always just doing moves and having a match. There's psychology behind it. There's timing behind it. Can you hit your cues? Because there's nothing worse. And I've been on tons of independent shows where they've had 13 matches. It's fucking 11:30 at night. There's still more matches. I'm fucking exhausted because we started the show at 7 o'clock. Like, it sucks. It's ridiculous. And guys just go out there. And again, what makes a good wrestler, and if any young wrestlers are watching, like, I'm not a guru on wrestling. I'm not going to tell you guys that, like, I know everything and I'm this super wise source of information. There's people way better than me you can get your information from. But, and I will say this all the time, I've learned a lot of shit, and I'm parroting a lot of that back. So while the advice is not coming from me, it's coming from people much smarter than me who've been doing it much longer than me. One of the big things that you need to keep in mind as a professional wrestler is to always keep your audience. And if what you're doing isn't working and the audience isn't into it, you need to try something else. That's part of the performance. You can understand that, Eric.
Yeah.
It's part of a performance. Like,
but how do you change it in the middle of the show and let the person you're wrestling know, hey, this isn't working? Like, unless you've known each other for quite a while.
Well, that's actually a really good question. This is something that Paul London went over at the seminar. The audience has no idea what the match is. Only you and your opponent and the referee. The referee should know, especially if you got a good referee. Because it takes 3 people to make a wrestling match. The referee is the most important person in that ring. And don't let anybody ever tell you that the referees don't matter in wrestling. Because they do. They absolutely do. In professional wrestling, communication is key. You need to communicate with your opponent. And one of the tricks is to be able to talk to each other without the audience knowing you're talking to each other. And that was one of the cool parts of the seminar, was having Paul go over that with the young guys and girls. There were 2 girls there. And go over that with them and really show them, like, this is a perfect time to chat and keep it simple. Say what you're going to do. If you've got them in a headlock or something, tuck your head, talk to them, and ebb and flow with the audience. Because you want to give the audience what they want, but sometimes to tell a good wrestling story, you give the audience exactly what they don't want. Which is like, oh, well, we want the good guy to get his comeback now. Nope, shoot him down, put more heat on the heel. And that's all part of it. And the only way you're going to learn is to go out there and do it.
Has there ever been a match where the heel and what's the good guy called?
Babyface.
just a babyface, literally swap like mid-match.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there have been, and it actually does happen on independent shows. There are times when the guy who's supposed to be a heel comes out, and for some reason the place goes apeshit for him, and they don't give a shit about the babyface. So they work with that. If they're experienced enough and smart enough to make that change on the fly, they will, because working a heel style and a babyface style is two completely different things. Some people might have their own preferences on this, but this is mine. I think that heels should always cheat, should always take opportunity, should always take the easy way out. That makes a good heel. That's pissing the audience off. The babyface should always tell that triumphant story, should always follow the rules, should always want to be fair. They're a good guy. Why would they break the rules? You know what I mean? And if the audience is buying into one person more than the other, and they're kind of making that decision for you, and you can't win them back, because that can be the case. Sometimes you just lose the audience. That just happens. The best thing to do is to just roll with it, and okay, well, you're the heel now, so start beating up on me and get your heat, and I'll make a comeback on you, and then I'll go out and I'll slap the babies and kiss the hands instead. So
Okay.
I was waiting for you to pick up on that.
I was just kind of thinking about it. I just like, I don't know of any, I don't watch pro wrestling or anything like that, but are there any pro wrestlers that did that?
So a good famous example of this would be Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of my all-time, I used to say it was my all-time favorite match. I really do have to go back and look and see, but it is up there. It's definitely the best WrestleMania match of all time. And we actually got you to watch that on a watch-along that sadly I can't produce on YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. You suck.
I do remember that. Okay, yeah, you're right.
As I post this on YouTube, yeah. So that was a really famous swap that happened during that match. Bret was the babyface and Austin was the heel. But during the course of the match, the fans started deciding that they wanted to cheer for Austin. They started booing Bret, and they worked with that. That's why the finish was Austin covered in blood, screaming in a submission hold, but he never tapped out. He passed out, which meant the pain was so excruciating that he couldn't take it anymore and he lost consciousness, but he never actually consciously tapped out. And the audience went friggin' nuts for that. And the next time Steve Austin came out, they cheered. They blew the roof off the place. They were ready to cheer for Steve Austin. It has happened before. They've tried to force it before, and yeah, it doesn't work. If you try.
So this is definitely like an audience thing, then.
Yes.
If the you pretty much have to make that decision based on the audience reaction, not. So that's something that's definitely not scripted.
Well, with going back and rereading the history, I don't know if that was ever going to be in the plan, but the audience certainly dictated it, and they certainly went for it. So yeah, like. And it's happened in other matches before. Hell, it's happened in independent matches. Happened to shows I've been part of. Same thing with changing the finish.
What do you mean changing the finish?
Sometimes guys on the fly will decide that to let the other person win the match, even though they weren't originally planned to. And that's happened before. I've seen that happen several times.
Weren't you telling me that that's happened a couple of times because the other person's gotten injured and they're like, well, you can't win now.
That is one way to do it. A lot of the times, if injuries are tough, Choppy Girl's a Steve Austin fan. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yes, so am I, Choppy Girl. Bret and Steve are in my top 10 all-time favorites, so that's another reason why I love that match, because I was always a Bret Hart guy and I was always a Steve Austin guy. In the era of Bret versus Shawn, I was a Bret guy and not a Shawn Michaels guy. In the era of Austin versus Rock, I was a Steve Austin guy and not a Rock guy. Obviously, like today, I can tell you I like The Rock and Shawn Michaels, but back then, no, did not, because I liked the other guy. That's generally how it works, though. It depends on the injury And again, it very much depends on the experience level of the wrestlers in question and how they want to handle that. When Triple H very infamously tore his quad and he couldn't friggin' walk, he still finished the match. It was still going to be that Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit were going to win the tag titles from Steve Austin and Triple H. But Triple H tore his quad, and they were like, again, they're talking to each other, and Jericho's like, what do you want me to do? And he goes, just keep going. Like, don't change a thing. Just keep going. He was going to tough it out and deal with the consequences after the fact, which is what a lot of wrestlers do. Dan just chimed in, know your damn role. All right, Dan. Dan is Rock is Dan's all-time favorite, so he knows. Steve hosted one of the best shows I've ever seen from Choppy Girl. Steve's hosted a few shows, so I'm curious to know which one that is. But he still finished the match, and then he got help to the back afterwards. Has there ever been a time when they've had to change who won the match because somebody got hurt? Yes, it has happened, but most of the time they kind of just. So if you get hurt and you're really not going to be able to continue, they'll just go straight to the finish. And they'll just be like, okay, well then we'll end it right here, and they'll try to work with whoever is going to win. A really good example of that, again, going with Steve Austin, was when Owen Hart broke his neck. It was a pile driver gone wrong, and Steve's neck was broken immediately. Steve was still supposed to win the match, so if you watch the clip, right after the pile driver, Owen kind of stands up and he's kind of celebrating, and then Steve very, very weakly kind of grabs him and pulls him down. The move is called a schoolboy. You kind of hook your arm underneath your opponent's thigh, and you pull them over at your back, and then you pin them. And Owen just let Steve do that, and he kind of, he did his part to try to look like he was getting pinned. Steve won the match, and then he was so friggin' weak afterwards, he dropped he couldn't even carry the belt that he just won. He dropped it. So they just went with the original finish, but as soon as Steve said he was hurt, they're like, okay, well, we're going to end it right here. And, and there have been those unfortunate times where somebody's gotten so hurt that they've had to just call the match as it was. And that has happened before, too. Somebody got legitimately knocked out. They couldn't continue. So they called it. They just called it. They said by way of TKO, technical knockout. And that has happened before. And sometimes I've told this story before. One of the independent wrestlers I work with, Jay Freddy, did a spot. He dove out of the ring, slammed his face into the metal barricade, and busted himself, just covered in blood. And in accordance with the Pennsylvania Athletic Commission, they didn't want him to continue. So we just called the match where it was, and we called it as a draw. He was really upset with himself and very apologetic to everybody. The next show, he was the biggest babyface on there. Because we were in the same building. They remembered that. They cheered the shit out of him when he walked out. So sometimes it works to your advantage, and you just have to roll with it. Redneck Island. Aw, Redneck Island. I had a feeling that's what she was talking about.
Redneck Island?
Yeah, Redneck Island was a Steve Austin show. Yeah, it's a very it's a great question, but it's a very case-by-case scenario. Guys get concussed. It's not a good idea to continue the match based on everything we know. The Chris Benoit situation opened up a lot of eyes about what that traumatic head injuries can do to somebody. So a lot of the times when guys get concussions now, they go straight to the finish of the match and then they get out of there. Sometimes an injury is so gruesome that they have to end the match where it is. Dan, I apologize in advance
for that.
Dan, I apologize in advance for this, but when Sid Vicious broke his leg, it was very obvious his leg was broken. It was literally flapping like rubber. That was the end of that match because he wasn't standing back up again. That clip is online. I do not advise you watch it on a weak stomach, people.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
It's a very gruesome injury. I have sadly seen it more times than I care to remember. Oh my God, Choppy Girl's you're 16. How have you already had a concussion? My God.
She fell out of a tree drinking.
Yeah, probably.
That's gonna be my guess.
But the show was very successful. Paul London can still go. He is older than I. He doesn't do a lot of the high flying stuff, but he did bust out some pretty cool athletics for this match. He was very massively over. Ricardo, very massively popular. Again, they're former WWE guys. People remember them from watching them on television, so they remember who they are. Very nice guy. We went out to eat after the seminar. I got to regale him with some stories of Disney and Jersey, which he appreciated. And he regaled us with some really funny stories. He's told the story publicly, so I can tell it on here. But he told this really funny story about a character called the Boogeyman. Boogeyman was a very infamous wrestler who was all character. He's supposed to be. I've never met him. He's supposed to be a very nice guy, but he's got crazy face paint and everything. He would legitimately eat worms. He was actually physically fucking eating worms in the ring. He was a scary looking dude, but really nice guy. Very infamously lied about his age. He told everybody he was 30. They checked his driver's license, found out he was actually 40. And he goes, I said that so you'd be more impressed with me. And they go, well, we don't like liars, so we're not signing you. And then they signed him anyway. So I think he was actually supposed to be a scary character, but he was such a goofball that they made it a goofy thing, and that was probably the best thing they could have done with it. So Stevie Richards, who I've met a few times, again, another very nice guy, would very infamously oil himself up for matches that didn't mean anything. The less meaning the match had, the more oiled he would get. That was like his thing, to be funny. And if he was just being a manager for Victoria, he would literally just douse himself in baby oil, even though he wasn't actually wrestling. That was like his comedic thing. So he's going to wrestle the Boogeyman on a house show. Do you know what a house show is, Eric?
No.
House show is a completely untelevised event. It's literally just for the house, the people in attendance.
Okay.
So like WWE will run Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and on the weekends they'll have house shows. So it's just a live event. Just the people in attendance are seeing the show. A lot of the times what they do that for is they use that to test out matches that they want to have feuds with. To give an example, a house show I went to at Madison Square Garden again, they actually tested out Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, which was going to be their planned WrestleMania main event. So they had them wrestle at Madison Square Garden so they could, and that's a great way to get that experience, right? How's the audience reacting to this? Are they liking what they're seeing? Is Brock happy with how the match is going? Is Kurt happy with how the match is going? And then they'll bring on guys on the road, young guys. We'll have matches on those shows, full-blown matches, because you don't have TV time constraints. So they're really cool, fun shows. And because there's no TV cameras to mug to, it's just the audience, so you get more interaction with them. And sometimes they'll get on the microphone and say shit they can't say on TV. And boy, is that the best part. And they'll have fun. They'll do goofy shit. And he fucking ate worms. Wrong. Get him out of here. No, that's literally what he did. It's literally what he did. So Stevie's gonna go wrestle the Boogeyman, and he's like, "This is gonna be the easiest match ever, bro." He has a super raspy voice. He's like, "I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna do like," he lists all the stuff he's gonna do. It's very simple, like basic wrestling school type stuff. And then that's gonna be it. It's gonna be over. So he douses himself in baby oil. And I don't know if Boogeyman was just like offended by that or whatever, but he gets in the ring. They ring the bell. And Stevie goes to bum rush him. He yells and he goes to bum rush him. Boogeyman punches him in the throat and legitimately like crushes his larynx.
Oh shit.
So Stevie falls out of the ring and he's on the outside like, and he can't fucking breathe.
Like for real.
Now, if Boogeyman, being the scary character, how do you think he would react to the fact that he just basically crippled the guy? Do you think he would do something creepy or maybe do like a dance or something like part of the character?
Yeah.
No, he starts doing fucking jumping jacks like a cheerleader, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Tears both of his quads and collapses to the ring. So, because Stevie's on the outside and can't get back in because he can't fucking breathe, and Boogeyman now can't wrestle because his legs are fucked, they just do a 10 count and call the match like a minute into the match. And the referee is raising Boogeyman's hand, but he's like on his knees, so he's like holding it down here. And now Boogeyman, instead of cheering, now he's screaming in pain too. Stevie's screaming in pain. They're like, everybody thought it was the funniest shit ever. Dude, he told us that story. He's told that story publicly before, but he told us at the table, and we were dying laughing. Because, like, I could picture that in my head. just rush him first. They just punches him in the throat, and the match is done. And then the guy fucking fucks up his legs while he's jumping jack cheerleading. Like, oh my god, we were dying laughing at this story. We were the ones that couldn't breathe. So,
oh my god,
sometimes shit happens.
I really want to just like the way that I'm picturing all this is like honestly like tournament arcs or like martial arts champion anime type of thing. Like their storyline is they want to win, but they all have their own reason to.
Well, I just watched the end of the Universe 6 tournament arc on Dragon Ball Super, Manaka versus Hit, and I'm just like, yep, that's a thing. And sometimes that stuff happens. So there's another great story. Wrestler named Loki, who people think is the world's dumbest wrestler. People do not have a high opinion of him when they talk about him. He's one of those guys, if you ever see his match, you're like, this guy's really good. How come he's not signed by any of the big companies? And then you learn what kind of person he is. And you're like, oh, okay.
He a shitty individual?
Yeah. I'm not going to say he's a shitty individual. I don't know him personally. But I just know, like, people who know him and have met him and worked with him don't have high opinions. But one time, I remember he did something really, like, first move out of the match was he ran and did, like, this running kick to the guy and knocked him out cold. So the guy was physically knocked out completely. And what you should have done in that instance was actually pinned him and gotten a 1-2-3 and been like, holy crap, like, this guy's so tough, he just knocked this guy out with one kick. Like, in wrestling, that should make you want to come back and see that guy again. You can work with that as a storyline.
Okay.
But because he wanted to do all of his cool move flippy shit to him, he tried to, like, ring the guy back up into consciousness and then was, like, trying to, like, work with him while he was loopy and was basically doing moves to himself. And they're just like, man, you could have been the biggest babyface on the show or the biggest heel, and you completely fucked it up. There's a great Kevin Steen. Well, he's Kevin Owens now, but he's a great story where he talks about, like, calling Loki to, like, try to invite him to a show or something. It's like, hey, it's Kevin Steen. And Loki goes, yeah, I know who it is. I could see your name on the phone. And he's like, oh, it's going to be like that. Okay. So, again, can't speak to the guy, never met him, but I've heard the stories. See, you don't even have to know shit about wrestling to be entertained by wrestling stories, because my god.
I know. Well, you know them all. Like I'm still entertained by wrestling stories, but I'm finding them like secondhand.
Well, yeah. I mean, most of my stories are secondhand because I only have a handful of my own, and I've told most of them. But anytime I hear a new wrestling story, it cracks me the fuck up. And Paul London did confirm something that I've always suspected, that Vince McMahon, like all billionaires, are just really weird. He's just a really weird guy. He goes, and apparently he's met more than one billionaire, because he said all billionaires are like that. And I probably believe that, because I think you have to be in a different mindset to become a billionaire in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you just actively win the lottery or something, but, like,
even then,
yeah.
I feel like that much money changes you.
Yeah.
It makes you more of who you are, and we're all weird in our own little way.
I mean, there's a cracked article about, like, it's like 14 billionaires and their weird hobbies, and it's like Jeff Bezos likes to do weird shit, and Elon Musk likes to do weird shit. And I'm like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
The thing is, we could be into weird shit, but it doesn't matter because nobody knows who the fuck we are. So,
well, I mean,
I'm 100 air, Eric.
I got $100, I think.
I got hundreds of dollars in my bank account.
I'm in debt. Does that count?
I don't want to talk about that. So, I don't know where the fuck I was originally going with this story, but Three Legacies Wrestling is picking up steam. And our next show is February 18th, which is my mom's birthday. So I told her I was going to get her a ticket for her birthday, and she told me that was very thrilling. I don't think she meant that, but okay. Like, I appreciate you, Mom. Hey, Mom, here's a wrestling ticket to a show 3 hours away from where you live.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to something that we were talking about before we started recording.
Okay.
Ash is a dumbass.
Yes.
Now he's a champion now. It only took him 25 years. He's still 10 years old, by the way.
And his story's ending.
And his
That's
story
the
is
crazy
done.
thing, right? Like, I mean, I get it. There's only so long you can run with the same character and all the same different Pokemon and everything, but like, but I kind of like the fact that they're ending his journey because now we can conclude it. And I think he had some great character growth, like actually becoming a competent Pokemon trainer, because we all know he didn't start that way.
No, he did not. He did not start off that way at all. But now looking back at his team, what do you feel is the quintessential Ash Ketchum team?
Well,
Like, when you say Ash's team, what are the Pokemon you think of?
so let's come up with where this is being inspired by. So I've started a new project. I'm gonna actually start putting it on my personal Instagram because I realized I have all my personal stuff listed, so I might as well just do it that way. It's on my Facebook right now. I did a TikTok about it. That TikTok blew the fuck up, by the way, so thank you guys for that. Like 700 views in the first 24 hours. Appreciate that immensely. I'm making Pokemon Trainer Cards as just a little art project for myself. I actually built the whole template from scratch. I looked around for inspiration, like how the games themselves make trainer cards, and then I created one myself, did all the graphics and everything for it myself, and then I would find pictures of characters. So the first characters I did were the Simpson family. Simpsons is my favorite show. That's what inspired me to do the original project. So I started there, and I made Pokemon trainer teams for Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. And how I make the teams is I do it based on personality traits, quirks, references to things from the show. I'll pull up the album real quick. I can't I guess I can hold my iPad up and kind of show you guys. Of course, I have to actually figure out how to navigate friggin' Facebook on an iPad because it's different than on an iPhone, which is different from on a browser because Apple and Facebook. Sorry, am I salty? I sound salty. Do I feel salty?
I get it. I understand.
Okay, so that's the Homer Simpson Pokemon team. And I chose it based on different quirks of the show. Snorlax because Homer's fat and lazy. There's a personality trait. Hariyama is a reference to the Whacking Day episode. That was actually a suggestion that was given to me by people who were interested in the project. Grumpig is a reference to Spider Pig. So is Cronut, reference to Pinchy, two of Homer's beloved pets. Electrode is the reference to the nuclear power plant. And then Slowbro's a reference to Homer's intelligence, because Slowbro has potential, just like Homer does, but Homer's got a crayon jammed up his nose, and that causes him lower intelligence. So each team is based on something like that. So Eric and I were chatting. I was going to do Family Guy characters. We were talking openly about Peter Griffin's team. And also Brian's team, because Eric really wants me to do Brian for some reason. Even though Brian sucks ass, but I know. I want a Snorlax too, Choppy Girl. 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. Snorlax would be my spirit animal Pokemon. So Eric had the idea of me actually doing Ash Ketchum's team, or what Ash Ketchum's team should be, based on his personality. And I'm like, well, how many missed opportunity Pokemon are there out there? Because that's going to be the first part. But, the first one I came up with was Raichu, because that Pikachu's got to be level 100 by this point.
Easy.
He's had it forever, and it's beaten down friggin' golems and shit that, are immune to electric attacks. So, Pikachu has to be a high-ass level at this point. First Pokemon Ash should have is a friggin' Raichu. Because, well, Eric, you explain what Pikachu's personality quirk is.
Pikachu is an asshole, and I fucking love, from the first episode, it was like, hey, you're like Ash's Pokemon. Pikachu's just like, that bitch? No, I don't think so. And ever since then, he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell him I don't like Pokeballs. I don't get in Pokeballs, and then refuses to get into a Pokeball for the rest of his fucking life. He just doesn't do it
To a
anymore.
point where they incorporated that into the games.
Yeah. They literally was just like, well, shit. So Ash is so fucking bad at being a Pokemon trainer that they had to make Yellow to make Pikachu follow you. And at the time, we're just like, oh, this is really cool. But like now looking back at it, like, no, he was just a terrible trainer. A very terrible
Yes,
trainer.
absolutely.
And I get it. Like in the show, they're just like, oh, whenever a Pokemon evolves, it also changes their personality. So, like, if you evolve Pikachu to Raichu, it's no longer Pikachu. Like it's a completely different Pokemon, basically.
Yeah, right.
And I get that. I do. Because like Charmander was like super nice when you met him, and then Charizard was just a, the biggest bitch to ever bitch.
I mean,
You know,
Ash talks about that too. Like Charmander was never disobedient.
yeah, yeah, and the like that's the whole reason why. And I'm just like, now I think about it, just like, bitch, Pikachu was disobedient all the time. Like he was always disobedient. Just fucking do whatever you need.
There have been times when Ash has been like, Pikachu, go get him, and he just won't.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, for sure.
but you know who's a true ride or die with fucking Ash? That Butterfree that he let go. A matter of fact, if he let him go, that was probably a good Pokemon.
Well, that was
But
the
I
other
was
thing
thinking,
too,
like,
right? Was like that's the thing that they're doing on the anime for to wrap up the journey. Ash's Butterfree came back.
with
Like,
kids, hopefully.
well, isn't that why it left?
Yeah, exactly. Just imagine you're like, Butterfree, you're back. Why? Did you like me? No, my wife died.
So, actually, Dan, they I think we even reviewed that episode. They do try to give Pikachu a Thunderstone, and he refuses. He used the light ball. Yep. Well, Pikachu is cute. Raichu isn't. That is a matter of opinion. I like Raichu, but he said Pikachu wanted to drown Team Rocket that one episode. Yes, yes, he did.
No.
Pikachu
Yeah.
was pissed that they survived.
He's just
Specifically
like, you
Meowth.
live, you sons of bitches. That
Specifically
murderous
Meowth, he was
little
the
rat.
most. Yeah. So
But
yeah,
like,
that's a good question. So what should be on Ash's ideal Pokemon team?
yeah, if we were basing it around him, because in my head, like when you say Ash's team, I'm thinking, well, the original three starters plus Pikachu,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which only leaves room for like two more. Who
Mm-hmm.
would those other two be? And I'm thinking, well, shit, it'd be Snorlax, Mewtwo.
Okay.
And that's a like it's a really well-rounded team, and I really feel like that doesn't summarize Ash because like
What was? Let me check something real quick because I don't remember because it has been that long. What was Red's team when you fought him in Gold and Silver?
I think what I just mentioned, except maybe there was an
Well,
Umbreon.
he didn't have Mewtwo, but
No, he had like Umbreon, I think.
yeah. All right. Cerebi.net with the answer. He had Pikachu, Espeon, Snorlax, Venusaur,
Espeon.
Charizard, Blastoise.
Okay, so it was Espeon then.
And the Pikachu was level 81. Let me say that again. Level 81.
The fact that Pikachu by now should be able to one-shot everything, and he just doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was Pokemon Trainer Red, the final boss in Gold and Silver.
And how many badges does he have now?
He's pretty much got all the badges from every region, so everything should be obeying him at this point. But yeah, so yeah, no, I think you were absolutely right. I think it would be Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Raichu, Mewtwo, Snorlax. Maybe I will make Ash's ideal team.
That's just me. That's just how I feel. And the only reason I feel like Mewtwo should be there is because, god damn, did that fucking Pokemon movie made me cry when it came out.
Such a bullshit. I didn't. I'm sorry. Did I pay my ticket for a Pokemon movie so I could squirt fucking tears? Thanks a lot. Why do you hate me so much? That's kind
That
of
was
that's like giving somebody a DVD of Marley and Me and being like, "It's a cute movie about a dog."
oh god.
It is a cute
Like,
movie about a dog. It's very funny. It's a very good movie.
I all I remember, like, honestly, from the movie theater was Pikachu going chew, but having that like gargle in the back of his throat, like he's crying
Because it
at the
gets
same
more
time
and
that
more
he's doing
intense
it.
as he's trying to do it.
Yeah,
Because he's realizing it's not working. And then, yes, whew. Fucking Pokemon, man.
Pokemon giving you the feels. What movie? Like, what year did that come out?
I want to say 98, 99.
Right.
Because the games came out in 98 in America.
Was it
So the
98? I
movie-
feel like it came out 97 in America.
Well,
It was like 95, 96 in
this is
Japan.
literally why I have my iPad in my hand right now.
yeah.
Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, 1998.
Okay. So
But
the first
in
game?
America, 99, I believe. I think it was 98 Japan, 99.
Wait, 99? Really? Did it come out the same year as like Phantom Menace?
Man, it could have been 98. I don't actually remember what grade I was in when I went to see it, but middle school sounds correct. And that would have been 98, so... Yep. I don't know if there any trivia about it. Sure. Oh, Jesus. I don't want to sign in to IMDb. Fuck off. Stop trying to make me get an account. God damn it. And Dan is almost got the Pokemon Violet Dex complete. 329 caught, 400 total. There you go.
Nice.
There you go. Nice,
Which ones are missing? The starters. I can't wait for them to like actually link home so I can just start trading all the shit that I need.
Right. Yeah. So, so we've come up with Ash's team. So let me ask you this, Eric. What's a fictional character you really like? What Pokemon team could I give for them?
A fictional character that I really like that you would also have to know.
I don't have to really know them. I can research them because I've actually gotten requests from the old project. And I did research. Like, for example, I don't watch SpongeBob. But somebody really wanted me to do SpongeBob characters. So I put some research into that. And I came up with Pokemon teams for SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward. I was like, I know I did 5 because I was doing all my projects in series of 5. Because I did the Big Bang Theory characters, which was 5. I did the Rick and Morty characters. There were 5 there. The core Simpsons family. And then there were a few others I was just doing to do. So, I don't know. Fictional character. Look on your wall. You got plenty. You can do a Dragon Ball. You can go Star Wars.
Do Vegeta.
Vegeta. All right. What's the strongest fighting type in the game?
Lucario.
Oh, okay. So yeah, before we went on the air, you had a problem with me giving Peter Griffin a Lucario.
Yeah,
but no,
Peter
Vegeta
Griffin is a bad character altogether.
Vegeta, that's fine. Vegeta can have a Lucario.
Vegeta is an amazing character with amazing character growth.
Yes, agreed.
He was a heel and he turned babyface. You like what I did there?
Fucking love that reference, actually. All right, so I looked up prideful Pokemon. And let's see. Which Pokemons come up for being prideful? It says 7 deadly sins of Pokemon, except I don't actually recognize who's supposed to be the okay, that's greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride. For pride they picked Empoleon. No.
Who?
The final form of Piplup.
Nah, I'd pick like Greninja before.
Greninja's a good one, yeah. I also feel like Vegeta needs a really strong electric type because of Super Saiyan. And something really fast.
A fast electric? That's easy.
Jolteon.
It's every electric type, really.
Most electric types are very quick, yes.
It'd have to be Raichu, but no.
You could give him a Raichu. Why not?
Or Zapdos.
Vegeta could tame a legendary beast.
I just don't know if that's the legendary beast that I want. You think Vegeta should have?
Let's think back to Vegeta's history. So he needs to have a brawling fighter type on his team to reference his partnership with Nappa.
Yeah, then trade him off.
So maybe yeah, exactly. So maybe Machoke or Machamp, because Machoke evolves when he gets traded.
Right. Or even like a Geodude.
A Golem or something, yeah.
A Golem, yeah.
First of all, a character like Vegeta is going to have final forms of everything, so he has to have something on his team to piss off Kakarot, or to try to get back at Kakarot, because he's always that one step behind.
No, I feel like he'll have something on his team because of Kakarot that he can't let go, and it's going to piss him off. It's going to piss him off and not Goku or Kakarot. It'd be the Psyduck of Vegeta. Like, he'd be like, I choose Zapdos, and then all of a sudden, like, fucking Magikarp shows up. What would it be, though?
I'll have to think about that. Okay, one thing Vegeta had were Cybermen. So, we'll find a grass-type Pokemon with an alien-type look. We could put that on his team. Is there a Pokemon that gets stronger the more it battles? That's a perfect Pokemon for a Saiyan. Like, these are...
Oh my god. Wobbuffet.
Wobbuffet?
The more you hit it, the stronger it gets.
It's true, yeah. Like this is how I come up with the ideas here. I start looking at the character's history. Obviously Vegeta is very prideful. He fights to the last breath. He doesn't want to be left behind. He does evolve into a very good father. So you'd want to put
can we say that if he was a trainer, he's a dark type trainer?
Okay, he could have dark types on his team, sure. What's a dark fighting type? I'm sure there is one.
Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Dark fighting type Pokemon.
There's that one samurai, but I think that's Dark Steel.
Pangoro is a dark fighting type. So there's
I feel like, yeah, all of his would be like either fighting or dark, right? So like Toxicroak would definitely be in there.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for more. Scrafty. Scrafty's dark fighting.
Where's that crocodile one that's like dark ground or something?
Oh, that's a good one. Of course, there's also your Shifu, which I believe is a legendary. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty to choose from there.
Oh God. Latios and Latias. One has to go to Goku. One has to go to Vegeta.
He'd love that. Crocodile is what Dan just threw in the chat.
Yes.
Crocodile. Yeah, that's a good one to have on your team too, because
he's so fucking strong. He's ridiculously strong. There's no reason he should be that strong. I think just ground type.
Is that why you like Lucario though?
Listen, Lucario has weaknesses.
Listen, I know, I get it.
When one of your weaknesses is fire, all is forgiven. Because fire is like everybody has a fire type, and for whatever reason, doesn't matter what game you know, like you're playing, when you have a fire type, it's like magically put into your head. You know what Pokemon are weak against fire,
Mm-hmm.
and you just know that Lucario is weak against fire, and if you can pull off a fucking flamethrower, it's GG. And also, he's also got a weakness to fighting. Like, I know he's
Mm-hmm.
fighting type himself, but that still gives him a weakness to fighting.
Right.
So he's got two very common weaknesses. He's just my favorite Pokemon, though. Like, he's super strong because he normally goes first, but the time that he doesn't, it's over for him.
So, back to Vegeta.
Okay.
You could also consider the fact that he does blow himself up at one point to try to kill Majin Buu. So a Pokemon with an explosion type move.
Golem,
yeah. So again, you're creating a good case for Golem, and maybe it would be the Alolan Golem, the one that's also dual electric.
Is he dual electric?
Alolan Golem is, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Alolan Golem, I believe, is rock electric.
I feel like he would need a ghost type, right? Just to remind him of all the people he's killed.
Yep, and he could have a pretty good ghost type there. Rock electric, yep. In this regional form, regional Golem is rock electric. Yep, powerful ghost type. So again, this is where a lot of the thought process comes from. Vegeta's big on armor, so a Pokemon with heavy armor. Because he's always got his battle armor on. He always has battle armor on. There's just... and a Pokemon that could be quick to anger.
Primeape.
There you go.
Matter of fact, it's the same one that Ash had.
It's not even a Primeape. It's fucking Ash's Primeape.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pokemon that didn't obey Ash. Primeape obeyed him in one episode, and then the guy's like, you know, your Primeape's good. I'm going to take him. Okay. That makes sense, but okay.
I know. What an episode.
So yeah, that's a lot of where the thought process comes from. Now, what kind of Pokemon would Krillin have? Will Pokemon get killed a lot?
Well, not a lot, right? He's not Yamcha. He doesn't get like
Krillin gets killed more than Yamcha.
Well, yeah, but Yamcha loses a lot of fights, like every fight. I can't remember a fight Yamcha won. I don't think he's won any fights. Holy shit. Hold on.
He got into the final 8 of the World Martial Arts Tournament, so he won his prelims. But he lost in the first round of all 3 World Martial Arts tournaments in Dragon Ball.
Has all of his wins been off camera?
Good question.
I'm trying to think of this right now.
Yamcha the Desert Bandit. Yamcha, because
Holy shit! I think all of his wins have been off camera. Like we've never seen him win.
That's a possibility. My favorite is when they're recruiting for the Universal Tournament, and he's like so desperately trying to get recruited. He's like, oh, I think he'll call me any minute now to ask me to be on the team, right? And instead he gets Frieza.
They never get that reference. Like they never reference that again.
Yeah.
Any minute now.
Goku's gonna call. Yamcha almost pisses off Beerus and gets them all destroyed. Hey, buddy, I'm a big deal around here, and slaps him on the back.
Who's this? It's the god of destruction, you fool.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with Vegeta. Coming up with his team probably wouldn't be that difficult. But that's kind of where the mindset goes. What I'll do is I'll look up personality traits, and then I'll try to research a Pokemon that would fit that. And if there's multiples, then I just kind of narrow it down and choose. Or, if I think somebody's only really got one major association as a fighting type or something like that, then yeah, I'll give them just a team of really good types. So, like let's say I was going to do a Pokemon team for Emperor Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm looking at a Star Wars poster on your wall, so going for other references here too. So let's say you're going to do one for Emperor Palpatine. You obviously want to go with dark, evil Pokemon, but you need some electric types in there too. So is there a dark electric Pokemon? I'm looking that up right now. Does that type exist? Yes, there is. Morpeko is an electric dark type. So even though it doesn't necessarily look like something Emperor Palpatine would have, it's the only dark electric type that exists, so by default, it's going to be on his team.
Okay.
And then I could see him having, like, 3 really powerful dark types and then 2 really powerful electric types, and that would wrap up Emperor Palpatine. I don't have to get super in-depth with that character, because the character isn't that super in-depth. Like, yes, he is in the prequels, because he's a master manipulator, but he's pure fucking evil. So you keep it simple that way. You know, Luke would probably be a combination of psychic and fighting types. Gallade, the final form of Ralts, psychic fighting. What a perfect Pokemon for Luke Skywalker. Han Solo would have more crafty Pokemon. Stuff that would be more associated with his smuggling capabilities. And whatever I could use to reference Chewbacca. If I was doing a team for Leia, there'd be some cunning-ass Pokemon on that, too. Leia's a fighter, so she would have cunning fucking Pokemon. But they could also reference moments in the trilogy, too. Leia was captured by Darth Vader and captured by Jabba the Hutt, so she could have a slug type or something very mechanical like that torture droid. Again, this is where my mind goes. What's going to reference Princess Leia? She had her little robot on the Obi-Wan show, so that could be a reference too. What she could have a Marowak, something that experiences loss because she lost her whole friggin' home planet. Like, there's all kinds of references I can work with there. Is there a Pokemon that looks like it has friggin' buns in its hair? Like, that could be a
Yes, the
reference
new
to.
dog Pokemon, actually. There's a dog Pokemon that has buns. That
Yeah,
was a
there you
reference
go.
to Leia.
There you go. So right there, I'm already working with a team. You making a team for Rick Sanchez? I picked really legendary Pokemon because we all know that Rick would have the best of the best, and he would know what's best.
There would not be a single Pokemon slot that's not a legendary on Rick's
exactly.
team.
And like, yeah, I had.
Oh, actually, no. There'd be one, and it'd be the Dunsparce, and that's for Morty.
No, that was for Jerry. I gave that one to Jerry.
Oh, I thought you gave him Dunsparce.
I gave Jerry Dunsparce because Dunsparce actually is useless.
He's very tanky. Surprisingly.
Well, I was funny because I looked up, like, what's the most useless Pokemon, and I'm like, well, it can't be Magikarp or Caterpie because they evolve into useful things. I'm like, what's something that stays useless? Oh, Dunsparce.
No, there's one that's even worse. Delibird. Delibird literally gives presents and heals the enemy Pokemon. That's all it learns.
I'm just trying to help, Beth. He just wants to help.
Oh dear God.
Oh, Jerry. And I'm gonna do other stuff too. I'm not just gonna do fictional characters. I'll do real world actors. Make a Pokemon team for Tom Hanks. Like, it would be fun to do that because I could reference so many of his movies that way.
Every one Pokemon for every movie he's been.
That would be impossible. That'd be a hell of a task, but well, you come up with like the 6 most famous Tom Hanks roles, and you work with that, and then that's what Tom Hanks's personality would be. You could do that for anybody. You could do it for I don't know. Do it for John Cena. What's a Pokemon that can turn invisible? What's a Pokemon that's really fucking colorful? What's a Pokemon that never gives up? Like, this is where the mindset goes.
Just Ditto.
Just Ditto.
It's just Ditto.
Just Ditto. Just Ditto. And then you have like a wrestler like Randy Orton, who calls himself the Viper. So right there, Viper, literal Viper, one of the easiest Pokemon to assign to somebody, right? Like,
can you hear that?
of course I can.
My cat's going nuts over there.
I know, I love it. I can see it too.
Oh.
Well, let me ask you this, Eric. Who's on your team?
Lucario's definitely on my team.
Besides Lucario. If I was going to make a trainer card for you.
If we had to pick based off our personalities, it would not be who I would pick for competitive.
Well, here's the thing. If I start doing it for my friends, I'm going to have you tell me what 6 Pokemon... Like, if you want me to create a train... And this is going to be something I'm going to do for everybody. Shout out to our friend Danny Jackpot, who gave me the idea. He said, dude, you should do commissions for your friends. I said, I will 100% do commissions for my friends. You tell me. Again, I'm using the Homer example again. But if you look at the trainer cards online, you'll see that they've got a unique background, a unique color scheme, 6 unique Pokemon, and unique stats. So you can literally pick all that stuff yourself, and you would send me a picture of you for the actual image on the card. Any picture of you that you want. I would ask that people send me a good, clear picture of them with an easy-to-crop background. Not a background with a lot of crop on it. A good, solid color background would work. And if I can't work with that, I can't work with that, but I'll do my best. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'll put the effort out there, especially if it's a commission job and you're paying me for it. Like, of course I'm going to put the effort out there. Like, that's the point, right? So you would pick what the background would be. If you want it to be Disney World, if you want it to be fucking Monster Energy drinks, I don't care. Like, if that, what you want your badge to be, because I think you saw everybody has a unique badge that you win when you beat them. So for Homer, it was a donut. For Marge, it's the sailboat picture that she painted. Lisa, it's a saxophone. Bart, it's a skateboard. Maggie, it's the pacifier. What would yours be, Eric? Would it be a graphics card? Would it be a Monster Energy drink?
It would be a graphics card with a monster logo on it.
I mean, I can make that happen if you really want me to. Like, I could definitely pull that off. So I would and you could choose your color scheme. What color do you want what do you want your background to be? What color do you want your background to be? What complementary color do you want your trainer part to be? And then the stats part, it's name, age, well, quote unquote occupation. It would be a stat about you, and then your badge. You literally pick everything, and then I'll make the design, put it together. You tell me what 6 Pokemon you want, and that's your trainer card. And then what I want to do with the trainer cards eventually is I want to pull up those battle simulators they have online and actually make those teams and then have them fight other teams that I've come up with. What happens when Homer's team meets Peter Griffin's team? And you and I could each do that. Like, I could take Homer's team, you could take Peter's team, and then we just battle each other and we record it and we see who wins, Homer or Peter.
Okay.
And we just control the battle. But we have to also like think like Homer and Peter, like swap out. Would they swap out? Like, or would they run them till they're dead? Like, you don't know.
I use tail whip. Just over and
okay.
over
Okay,
and
Jerry Smith. Don't you love cats? We're live, pal. Eric has to get up to let the friggin' cats out. Love it. Love it every time. It always makes me laugh. We're live, pal.
We're live.
So one thing I might limit though is like if you're putting a team into battle, like your team just can't be all like that's just ridiculous. It can't be fucking Mewtwo, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. Like
one legendary. He this should be a rule. one legendary, one pseudo legendary, which is like, one of the dragons of the region.
Okay.
And then the rest should be Pokemon you can find.
Right. Like, for me, my obsession has always been Mew. Mew's my all-time favorite. But if I put Mew on my team, I can't have my other favorite, which is Articuno. That wouldn't be fair. That's a legendary and a mythical. We're not doing that. So I'd keep Mew because it's my all-time favorite. And Mew is a fair one to put on your team too, because it's not the most powerful. So it's not like it's Mewtwo and I'm trying to strategize the game.
Mew is unique in Pokemon because it can literally learn every move.
Correct.
That's available.
Correct.
There may be another, but I might be wrong. I believe it's the only Pokemon that can learn every move.
As far as I know, yeah. And I remember my Mew always had Psychic because it's the most powerful Psychic move. And it always had Swift because I always wanted a Pokemon that had Swift because Swift never misses.
Yep.
So I always wanted that attack, and I'm trying to remember what else my Mew had from those games. I'd have to load up my old Pokemon Stadium cart and actually look at it again because it's registered on the game. But Mew definitely had those two moves, and I don't think it had any of the I don't maybe Mew was the one that had Cut. I think that might be the possibility. I think maybe I gave that to Mew because it could learn everything, and one of them has to have Cut. Just like one of them has to have Cut, one of them has to have Flash, one of them has to have Fly, one of them has to have Surf. So that was just the way that it was.
What a waste of a slot.
Yeah.
You find a really good Pokemon, you're just like, yeah. I guess you're learning Cut.
My team would be comprised of Mew and then some of my own personal all-time favorites. I'm well aware I can do a better ghost type than Gengar, but I fucking love Gengar. I want Gengar on my team. I know I could do a better dragon than Dragonite, but I love Dragonite. I want Dragonite on my team.
That's their pseudo.
I want Charizard because Charmander was always my boy. I would always have a Charizard. So right there's 4 on my team. But do I want to swap out Charizard and have Houndoom? Because I love the idea of a dark fire type, and I love Houndoom. I'm picking the team for Pokemon I love, not necessarily for battle purposes, but I'll put that team in battle, and if they lose, they lose. If I was a younger Pokemon trainer, I cared more about that stuff. Now I just like the fact that these are the Pokemon that I like. So that would be what my main team would be, and I'd probably have a really good electric type that I'd maybe I would research that one a little bit, find a good electric type that I really enjoyed. I used Ampharos a lot in Gold and Silver.
I used Emolga a lot.
Okay.
It's electric with levitate, so it reduces the ground weakness. Mm-hmm. Like it literally just nullifies. You take no damage from ground. I fucking love that thing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
fucking fast.
There's a couple of very overpowered Pokemon, like we were just saying, Lucario and Crocodile, but they're good to have on your team. So then what would be the last slot? I don't know. It would be something else that I liked. I mean, I was always a fan of Alakazam. Maybe I'd decide to get rid of Mew and keep Alakazam so I can have Articuno, because I always liked having a good ice type. So maybe I would sacrifice Mew in that case and say, all right, I'll skip the mythical and I'll keep the legendary bird as my main ace, even though Articuno, again, not the best, but again, I'm going off of personal preference, and I'm sticking to those first 2 gens because those were my favorite gens. Those are the ones that I knew. So, I mean, that would probably be my team, and
I think my team would be really fucking weird, though, because, one, I'm going to have Lucario. Lucario's on there.
I already know Lucario's in the top right, or the top left corner. I already know that.
Aegislash is going to be next.
Okay,
love
that's a good
Aegislash.
One. For people who don't know, that Pokemon's a fucking sword. It's a sword. Slash. Hi, Kitty or Kiri. I can't tell.
It's Kiri.
Kiri. Okay.
What? The Azurill.
Azurill. Okay.
Yep. Water
fairy.
Water fairy.
I see what you're going for. You're going for unique dual types.
Yes. And then what would be my fire type? Like, I feel like I would need another fire type, or sorry, a fire type in here. But I kind of want to go like the new Wooper is actually pretty broken.
It is.
So I would take the new Wooper, and that's 4. Now I need a legendary and a pseudo.
Does that Wooper evolve?
That Wooper turns into like the highest evolution of that. I actually that's the one that I'm thinking of. I just can't remember what
The
it's called.
evolution? Okay, but I know which
Yeah.
one you're talking about. Gotcha.
And then
Dan, you're
for
in
my
the chat. You've got an almost complete Pokédex. Fill us in.
yeah, for my pseudo, I don't know who I'd pick for my pseudo. Pseudo legendary, I do like Tyranitar.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Dark and Ground. He said Quagsire or Clodsire. I think he's referring to Clodsire.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good team so far.
Or not Garchomp, actually. Fuck that. No, Garchomp.
Garchomp, okay.
I want Garchomp. Get another ground in there.
Dude, imagine having a team with like friggin' Salamence and the 3-headed dragon. I forget what its name is.
Oh,
friggin-
Hydra something.
Yeah, like
or...
Hydreion and like friggin' Flygon, and then you've got a fucking Tyranitar and a Metagross. Like,
well,
good
that's
God.
those
You're
are
just
all pseudos.
You're just unstoppable at that point.
So
But
yeah,
that's just it.
Garchomp would be
But pseudos are
pseudo.
still easy to catch. You can do a whole team of pseudos. I think I will limit it to like you're allowed one legendary or mythical, and
I feel like an entire team of pseudos is also OP because then you would just pick the pseudos. Like,
well, I still want people to go with their favorites, and I think if people go with their favorites, if you're choosing a team for battle, that's one thing. But if you just want a Pokemon team to show off on a trainer card, like pick your favorites.
okay. And then the last one, who do I want my legendary to be?
Well, who's your all-time favorite starter? Go with the final form of that.
For my legendary?
Oh, no, for your legendary. Okay.
Yeah. If I wasn't going
a bird,
to
a dog, a genie, a golem. What else is there?
I was thinking either between like Groudon or Rayquaza.
I actually was going to say you strike me as a Rayquaza guy.
I do like Rayquaza.
Yeah, you strike me as a Rayquaza guy.
And then that's it. I feel like that'd be my team. It's pretty solid. It's well rounded.
Write those down. If I ever commission a piece for you, I will make that your team. And you don't have to. And I won't provide like explanations or anything. I will be like, this is Eric's team. He picked these 6. And then, what would be your background, man? Would it be friggin' Great Movie Ride?
My background?
Would it be Inno? Well, Homer's background was the nuclear power plant. Marge's is the actual house. Bart's is the tree house. Lisa's is Springfield Elementary. And Maggie's was the living room.
Oh, can we make mine the casting couch? Yes! I fucking knew it. I had to get you at least once.
Anyway. Interventions it is. It doesn't have to be Disney. It could be anything. It could be something that it could be anything you wanted it to be. It could be a freaking screen grab from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Just a trap card. Just a generic trap card.
What would be your... we said what your badge would be. So what would be like your interesting stat? You know, name, Eric, age, whatever. Age, old. What would you put for your hometown? Would you put Orlando because you live there longest?
I think... You know...
Do you want it to be Michigan?
I don't know enough about Michigan other than the roads are shitty.
Yeah, way to narrow it down to every other state, by the way.
I feel like it's especially bad here. Like they're
never been.
They're like I've gone through states where the roads are cracked and are filled in with this black stuff like tar or whatever. And then there's Michigan, where the roads are cracked. They're not filled in. They just turn into pebbles. And then, oh well, they salt them some more.
There's other projects I'm going to do too. Instead of Pokemon Trainer Cards, I'm also going to do Animal Crossing Islands, who would be your 10 villagers on an Animal Crossing island. I was going to do Pro Wrestling Survivor Series teams. If you were captaining a 5 wrestling team, who would be on your team? Or what kind of a pro wrestling stable would you have? So I've got other project minds involved. So like eventually you're going to see Homer Simpson with an Animal Crossing island, and you're going to see Homer Simpson with a fucking team of wrestlers. And they're all going to be references to something, so.
Well, I'll take some time to think of, oh, you know what? I'll probably just have like a TARDIS in the background.
Is that your favorite fandom?
I mean, they're I don't know what my favorite fandom is right now.
It kind of changes a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it changes depending on my mood.
Well, I'm not going to throw a lot of suggestions out there, but I'm just going to say there might be something you might be.
Yeah,
you might be
The Legend of Zelda. I'll throw just a Triforce back there.
There you go, just a freaking Triforce. So, and yet your badge is a computer chip card with a Monster Energy. Oh, that's great. And you know I would design the hell out of that too. Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously, yeah, like it's still your trainer card. I'm not going to enforce rules on it if that's what you want. I'm going to say that, but I won't. Let's say somebody really wants to commission a trainer card and have it be all legendaries. Okay, I'll do that for you. But if we ever start streaming the battles, you don't get to use that team. That's fair. Trainer card can be whatever you want. We'll make it that way. Trainer card can be anything you want. I'll put Mew and Articuno on my trainer card, but I won't use them in battle. I'll take Mew out. I'll keep Articuno. I'll throw an Alakazam in there. Probably more powerful than Mew anyway. No disrespect.
No,
still
I don't
favorite.
think so.
Still favorite. Still a favorite. Always will be a favorite. Like, just always will be. By the way, the Mew Pokemon card I'm actually keeping because I'm getting rid of the ones that I have in mint condition. I'm selling those, but the one that I actually used like in a deck that's like battle worn. I'm keeping that one always because it's Mew. Why wouldn't I? This is when I wish I had a Charizard to sell.
So you could buy the car outright and not have to make any more payments.
Correct. He's got it.
Oh,
he's got it. Yes, sir.
Well, I feel like we should cut this a little short. I don't know what's going on with me, but I need to use the bathroom.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, we're live. So, so listen, guys. Keep checking us out here on YouTube and Twitch. We're getting a streaming schedule back up. I'm going to start the Super Nintendo Melee project back up. I'm going to start streaming the games outright without making like episodes with only 5 games. I'm just going to stream through the library, and then I'm going to post reviews. Dan's going to help me with that. Eric, you can help with that too if you want. We're going to get Dan back on board and get some nerd tables going again, or just some podcasts in general. I kind of want to launch a new show where it's just a collection of us just having roundtable discussions every week about everything. And it's not a set schedule of who's on it. So even if like I have to miss an episode, you guys can still do it. Could be you and Dan and 2 or 3 other people. Like I want to get that going again. And Eric, where can they find you?
Online.
On the casting couch.
On the casting couch. Nah, I'd definitely be single then. So yeah, you can find me and Matt on the Sick Minds of Matt and Eric on YouTube. Me and Chris here. And that's pretty much it.
Yep. At Chris O'Mealy on all the socials. Check out the Trainer Card Project. Please support Three Legacies Wrestling. If you are in the vicinity of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and you want to come to a show, let me know. Now that we're popular, the tickets are going to start selling out. And it's a good problem to have. But if you want to actually come to a show, let me know so I can try to like get you a ticket. But yeah,
there's some YouTubers out in your area that I actually wouldn't mind seeing if I ever go there.
Okay.
Bikes and Beards, or Beards and Bikes, and stuff, something like that.
See, I still wanna find James Rolfe and meet him because I know he's out here.
That would be pretty cool.
He's a Jersey boy, and I think he lives in Philly now. So, so
All right.
he's close. But yeah, and I appreciate all the support for other creative projects, all this stuff here. Like, this is what I live for. I have a book project I'm working on that I was actually going to talk about, but since we're cutting this a little short, I'll save that for next time. But I'll tell you off air.
All right.
But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you to Dan and Choppy Girl for hanging out in the chat, and anybody else who watched. We appreciate you. We do this for you guys, and we do it because it's fun. So we will see you guys next time. But I can't end like that, right?
Oh, be excellent to one another.
There it is.